I Vow to Thee, My Country, verse 2. In the sheet music, as I mentioned with the verse 1 words, I have highlighted where a musical phrase is repeated exactly. I've highlighted it in the same color each time. So we have a set of yellows, set of blues, set of purples. And then I've done the same thing in the lyrics, because otherwise I found it very difficult to remember where I was in the song and sing each bit the correct way. Then in the lyrics you might notice that it's kind of hard to get them to hang together. So we did a picture for verse 1 that's color-coded. So the bits that are yellow in the picture correspond to the bits that are yellow in the music, and how the notes go. Same for the blue, same for the purple. I've done the same thing for verse 2. I've also made verse 2 look quite similar in overall shape. So the drawing is a similar shape to verse 1. Let me talk you through what I've got for verse 2 so you can do something better. So we start off with, and there's another country. This is all yellow. Anders. Anders is a good Dutch name. So I've drawn a clog to help me remember Anders. Who's wearing the clog? It's Nigel Farage, who reminds me of another country, partly because he wants us to be separate from all other countries, and partly because if you followed the recent Frankie Boyle stuff, well, I'll let you follow that up yourselves. Now, and there's another country I've heard of long ago. That's why I've emphasized his ears, just to help me remember I've heard of long ago. And instead of hair, you'll notice he has long goats. Long ago. And the goats are not alone. You notice the goats lead up to more deer. There were deer in the last one. Well, there was a deer in the last one. So, and there's another country I heard of long ago. Most deer. And now, this is a person with 2 deer heads instead of 1 human head. It's kind of embarrassing. Heard along it, most dear to those who love her. This is all sung with the yellow tuning. Most dear to those who love. Then we go into the purple style. Most great. And so we've got the marks showing that this is a sizable person, a great-sized person. Most great to them that know. And for knowing, because this is a male 2-headed deer person, I've just marked where their brain possibly is. The next line, we may not count her armies. So what is this person doing? Oh dear, he's weeing way up into the air to help us follow the shape. We may not count her. We may. And this we is going on to a maypole and just making it all drippy and disgusting. It's making a puddle. And hanging from the maypole, you've got the ribbons. We have 3 military hats. I've drawn sort of, I think it's like Russian World War II or 1 or something. I don't know what they are, but numbered 1, 2, and 3. We may not count her armies. We may not see, just a little reference to that see of we. We may not see her, and there's another hat. We may not see her king. And notice it's just 1 king. Armies, king. I could have drawn a fortress here, but I don't think I can draw a fortress. Well, I can't draw a goat either, frankly, but I sure can't draw a fortress. And I was afraid I would just think of it as castle, and I wanted to make it more memorable. So I've drawn 4 tresses of hair that the king is wearing. So we may not count her armies, we may not see her king, her fortress, and the king's heart. Those hairs, the 4 tresses are just tickling the king's heart. Her fortress is a faithful heart. You can tell it's faithful because it has a little tail wagging like a dog, the most loyal creature there is. Her fortress is a faithful heart, and who's eyeing this dog? It's a pride of lions. And these lions are not happy. One of them is wearing a ring, and it's making its little paw bleed, and it's really suffering. Her pride of lions is suffering. Again, with a lot of these, I'll put in a couple of little reminders just to kind of hammer it home. I could have just done the lion crying, but I thought, well, I'll put in the ring just to help me remember suffering. So her pride is suffering. And then the lion's tails, oh, I forgot one tail. That's a lion's tail. This is a bad transition. Come up with something better. The lion's tails take us up to the top of a staircase. Ooh, that's spookily familiar. You had a staircase in the last one. Where's my piece of paper for the last one? There it is. Yellow staircase, because doing the yellow phrasing. Last time, it was the heart that does not falter. This time, ever fall down the stairs? Well, this is shoes falling down the stairs, and soul by soul. Soul, soul. And silently, so I've got little speech bubbles that are empty, and I've also drawn in a little shh. Soul by soul. And then the third foot is a bound foot from in the days when they used to do foot binding of women in China. And they'd fold over the toes, and they would make a strong crease under the foot. So this is bound, and you can tell it's shining. All these nice orange lines, it's shining. And her shining bounds increase, and you can tell it increases. I've reminded myself of increase partly by the arrows on the shine marks, and partly because the crease along the bottom of a bound foot is very noticeable. As you'll learn if you ever study about bound feet, her shining bounds increase. Where is all this shininess shining onto? It's shining onto two scales, weigh scales. And her ways, way one, way two, her ways are ways of gentleness. To signify gentleness, I just made it into a butterfly, so the scales are the little butterfly's wings. And her ways are ways of gentleness. What's the butterfly flying over? Well, she's flying over bricks, like a brick wall, and that reminds me of the word all. And all her paths, there we have a path, and this is the purple notation, are peace. And so for peace, I have layering up the images again, I have a peace sign that also looks a little like a pizza. So all her ways are pizza. That's, I'm sure, not quite what the author intended. And let's sing it through. We're going to have the backing track singing verse 1. But I hope you are going to be singing verse 2. Ready to roll? And there's another country I've heard of long ago, most dear to those that love her, most great to them that know. We may not count her armies, we may not see her king. Her fortress is a faithful heart, her pride is suffering. And soul by soul and silently her shining bounds increase. And her ways are ways of gentleness, and all her paths are peace. Except when you sing it, make sure you breathe.